from the Digital Media Center on the campus of Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. This is Ramping Up Your English, an educational program for intermediate level English language learners. Here's your host for Ramping Up Your English, John Letts.
Welcome to Ramping Up Your English. Winner of the 2017 Southern Oregon Television Award for Program of the Year and the Best Education Show. Ramping Up Your English is an educational support program for intermediate English learners. It's a program for people from all language backgrounds. Ramping Up Your English is also for people of all ages. Now, if you've already passed the beginning stages of learning English and want to reach higher levels of proficiency, this program is designed to meet your needs. We take a content-based approach to helping you reach higher levels of English proficiency. Our current thematic unit is animals. This is segment 1 of episode 76. In our last episode, we completed most of the final review for viewers to compose a report on the animal of their choice. Now, if you've finished your report, I suggest you attach it to an email and send it to my email address. That address is letscreatepro@gmail.com. Put animal report in the subject line. And if you'd like any specific feedback or just want me to give you general thing for your email, general response, I'll be happy to do that. Now, our last episode also featured the exciting cycle of the little blue heron from an egg through important stages to maturity. Now, these images came from Susan RUE of Mobile, Alabama. Susan is a retired teacher and an avid bird watcher, a true birder. She lives on Mobile Bay Delta, where she sees the richness of the avian life world, including bird migrations. So this episode is named Love of Animals. It's the love of birds and nature that sends some people to all parts of the world. Let's watch that Skype interview that we had earlier today. So Susan, thank you for being with us today. We're first going to talk about that Mobile Bay Delta. And I understand that it's sometimes called the American Amazon. What can you tell us about this special place?
Well, it is very special. It's a national treasure. It's the second largest delta in the United States, and it covers, it's made of 5 rivers that drain pretty much the whole state of Alabama with the riverlets. And they drain all the way down to Mobile Bay. And it's just a super rich, biodiverse area. I think I've read that it's the most biodiverse in the whole country.
Wow. Well, I understand there's quite a bit of natural processes involved in that. Now, how long have you had an interest in this Delta area?
About 6 or 7 years when I retired. I spent so much of my life not knowing all the beauty that was out there, all the bird life and plant life and animal life. So it's almost like being a child again to go and discover.
And how do you get access to this area? I know that there's alligators swimming in the water and all kinds of things going on. It's fairly remote, isn't it?
Yes. Well, you have to go by boat mostly. So you can go in a kayak, and you can go in a pontoon boat, but then there are piers here and there where you can walk along the edge, and in some of the parks you can go out on long piers and see birds and other creatures.
So it is available to the public, it's accessible.
In some ways, in some places, there's a boat that launches every day, takes people in the Delta, but not too far up in the Delta.
Now we have this great picture of you in a kayak, And I know from being in a kayak, you're not far from the surface of the water. And I know that there are alligators swimming around in there. Does that ever bother you?
Um, Not really. I see them occasionally, but I stay away. Um, I have not had any trouble with snakes. I had a frog jump in the boat one time, and a fish jumped right in the boat.
That must have
Um,
been fun.
but um, I'm not afraid of snakes because I read that there are only 14 people who die of snake bites per year in the United States, so I don't worry.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame that some people, they're probably safer out in nature than there would be anywhere else, and yet they have these fears that keep them from going. Now, what are some of the favorite birds that you've encountered out there in the Mobile Bay Delta?
One of my favorites are the ibis. The ibis, I fell in love with those when I saw these long V's of undulating ribbons of beautiful white birds. And they came every afternoon all the way down the bay, and they are stunning to see. So there were a first love, but there's so many birds around. I've photographed all the herons, the great blue, the little blue, the green heron, the tricolor heron, and the smallest heron even, which is very rare to see, is the least bittern. I've photographed rookeries of these birds. I try to find babies, but I'm very respectful and keep my distance, so I have long lenses so I don't disturb anything.
Well, you have gotten some stunning images of birds from there, and I've seen some of the equipment you use, which I think is pretty fascinating. Now, I understand that you have a Facebook page, and people can go on and see the bird of the day.
Yes, I decided I could put something nice into the universe and put one picture per day of a bird. So instead of politics or other topics, I only put one bird a day. And I've been doing it for 4 years. And if I don't post the bird of the day, people call me and say, "Are you all right?"
That's great. Now, I understand you are, of course, quite a birder, as they say, a bird watcher. What's the furthest you've traveled to see or photograph a bird?
Um, I've been to Costa Rica twice and Panama once, and I'm going to Ecuador in September. And then in January, I'm going to Australia.
Wow.
So I guess Australia will be the farthest.
You're willing to travel. I recently saw an Australian bird, but it was in a wildlife park, just not the same experience, I know. Now, you have written a book that you've published about that area. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I can. It's about the region of South Mobile from Brookley Field to Dog River. And it's an area that's 300 years old, has 300 years of history, dating back to where the first French settlement was in the New World, was right here,
Wow.
right
French.
down the road. Yes, yes. It was the very first settlement, and it's as important as Jamestown, Virginia was for the English. And the warehouse was just a mile away from here, and that was the center of the activity in the New World. So it's a very important area. So it hasn't been written about as a collection ever because this area was only annexed to the city in 1956, so the records weren't all gathered. So I spent 6 years gathering information and writing this book, and it's been it's been at the top 1% of Amazon sales since it was released in June.
That's phenomenal.
I
Susan,
know, it's
thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And now we're back to thanking everyone for watching, and see you next time. Today's episode is named Love of Animals, and it's the love of birds and nature that sends some people to all parts of the world just to get a look or a photograph of uncommon birds. Now, learning about these special places in southern Alabama brings us to the end of segment 1 of Ramping Up Your English. We begin segment 2 with some unfinished business from our last episode. Using images from Susan RUE, we charted the life cycle of the little blue herons. Now, the concept of life cycle is one of the aspects of an animal that should appear in a report. Now, another important topic is that of adaptations, something we didn't have time to pursue in episode 75. Now we reach the point in the research that I find the most interesting. That's the adaptations an animal makes to help it survive and thrive through the changes that are always occurring. Now, these include physical adaptations that involve the body of the animal and the behavior adaptations, which are seen in the actions of the animal. An animal that's rich in adaptations is the beaver. Now, this animal is equipped to alter its environment to its own benefit. An obvious adaptation of beavers is their hard, sharp, and ever-growing teeth. This helps them cut into trees and get their nutrition from the growing part of the tree. Yet that's not the most amazing function of these teeth. Beavers use these sharp teeth to cut down trees. They then use the teeth to carry branches of the tree to build a dam, to impound the water and build their lodge where they'll be safe in winter and raise their young in safety from predators. Their chisel-like teeth can also provide them with the ability to fight off some predators. Now, beavers also have a number of adaptations that may help them be strong swimmers. They're winners, all right, but swimmers. Their wide, flat tails function as a rudder, helping them control the direction through the water. In addition to that, the flat tails are slapped on the water when there's danger to their fellow beavers, giving a warning to their family and neighbors. Now, some awesome photographs of beavers can be seen in this book entitled Busy Beavers by M. Barbara Brownhill from National Geographic. That same graphic detail is accomplished through illustrations in this book, Beavers by Helen M. Moore, illustrated by Terry Tallis. Both books take the reader into an amazing world of beavers and illustrate how they can use their well-equipped set of adaptations to alter their environment to meet their unique needs. Let's take some time to review these excellent books. Now, Busy Beavers has a photograph on the cover showing a beaver at work cutting down a tree. This photo here shows two beavers swimming underwater to the entrance of the lodge they constructed. So I'll pause so you can see this photo of the beavers swimming through the water, going up into their lodge. There it is. Now we'll go to another one, and this one shows a beaver nursing her kit inside the lodge. So I'll pause while you get to see that. That's in that same book. Now, the book relies on excellent photographs to illustrate the fascinating lives of beavers, but it does include one drawn illustration, though, and this one shows the dam and the lodge as well as the surroundings of the beavers. Now, the book Beavers, and that's the name of this book, it just named Beavers. The book Beavers relies on the outstanding illustrations of Terry Tallis to take us into the world of beavers, and you can see this work on the cover. Now, this is one of my favorites here. It shows the beaver lodge, including underwater access and the space that's left for the beavers inside the lodge. Now, Tallis also illustrates the construction of the beaver dam, which creates the pond for that lodge. So let's see that one. You can see on that page exactly what I just described. So there are many other great illustrations that show all aspects of the life of beavers. Writer Helen H. Moore uses clear, simple, engaging text that helps the reader gain a great appreciation for beavers, nature's engineers, and construction workers. I'll have the ISBNs of both books on my website, letscreate.org. Now, both of these books, it can help the reader learn a great deal about these engineers of nature, even if English skills are limited. Indeed, these books themselves may help you improve your English reading proficiency. Now, in the case of beavers, we can see a connection between their physical adaptations and their behavior adaptations. Now, thinking back on those hard, sharp teeth, the action they take with these teeth to cut down trees is a behavior adaptations. So that's what the animal does. It's action that helps it survive and thrive in its environment. Now, their unusual tail also gives us a clue as to their behavior adaptations. They have to move that tail to steer them to their desired direction using that tail. They have to slap that tail on the water to give a warning to other beavers in their group. By the way, this guy's really popular. So episodes 64 and 65 are all about physical adaptations, how to find information, how to recognize adaptations, and how to use the right connecting words to relate that cause-effect relationship between an animal's adaptation and the advantage the adaptation gives them. Episode 66 changes the focus to behavior adaptations. Now that leaves us only one more part of the animal report, that's something special that led you to the animal you chose to research. It could be from an earlier part of a report, or perhaps from an experience you had with this animal, or an observation you had either directly or through some kind of media. This part often leaves the objective reporting based on science work a little behind and can simply refer to your own response or preference. Now, it shouldn't escape entirely into fantasy, yet this part can be a little more subjective. A listener may hear something like, "This is what I really love about this animal," or some other personal response. My calling beavers, engineers, and construction workers reveal the personal context in which I admire those animals. Now, the only other advice I have for writing a report is to have fun with it. Now, doing this work in your target language is likely to be challenging, and it'll have its share of frustration. But you can also focus on the joy of learning about the world of nature. You get to indulge your love of animals. Now, don't worry about writing a perfect report. Mistakes are not to be feared, rather to be learned from. You'll get better with experience, and you've already ramped up your English by struggling to report information in your own words. Now, this review of the Animal Report Project includes a dizzying list of past episodes that focused on different parts of the report. Don't worry about remembering that information. I have it posted on a chart on my website, letscreate.org, that correlates these episodes with the report topics. Visit that website for all the support materials for this episode, as well as for all episodes of Ramping Up Your English. And with that, we conclude segment 2 of episode 76. In segment 3, we looked at another way at indulging your love of animals through folk tales. In episode 45, Will Wass and friends shared a folk tale about how the chipmunk got its stripes. Well, since we began this episode with a conversation with an avid bird watcher, let's enjoy a folk tale about some birds, the great buzzard and the tiny wren. Now, long before people learned to fly through aviation, birds had the exclusive access to the sky. This engendered a sense of wonder as well as a place in folklore. So in episode 45 and 46, we shared some folk tales about animals. Folk tales often have messages that reflect the best of people's values. During the folk tale of how the chipmunk got its stripes, The bigger, stronger bear looks foolish in his overestimation of his powers, tricked by the tiny mammal that also had a lesson to learn. So let's see if you can discern the lesson from this folk tale, Buzzard and Wren Have a Race. I have a special guest I want to welcome to Ramping Up Your English. This is Miss Lisa. Hi, Miss Lisa.
Hi, nice to see you, John.
Same here. Miss Lisa and I are both involved with another program at RVTV called Southern Oregon Classic Kids Show. And she is going to share with us a folk tale that has to do with an animal. So without further ado, let's hear the folk tale.
Thank you. This book is by Virginia Hamilton, and it's called A Ring of Tricksters. We're going to read a story called Buzzard and Wren Have a Race. Was a time these two breathed the same air, only Wren sat his chattering self on a fence rail, and Buzzard, he soared way high in the sky. Each could see the other. Wren could look up and see the buzzard's shape against the blue. Like he's floating in a pool, Wren thought. Keen-eyed Buzzard could look below from a great height. There he saw Bru Wren, hard by the meadow, near the fence corner. No bigger than a mouse, the buzzard thought, for true both knew how to fly. It was just that Wren flew lower and the buzzard flew higher. And one day, Buzzard thought he'd have some fun. He came swooping down to set himself on the fence rail beside Wren. Sacred Wren, half to death at first, but soon he got used to the mighty wingspan and the bald head of Buzzard. Big him, he was like some heavy shadow come spread over the small likes of Wren. You know what? Buzzard spoke in a deep, slow squawk. Say what? Asked Wren. We are both the same, except I am great big, and you are way little. Tell me something I don't know, chirred Wren. Then listen, the buzzard said. I can do something you can't. What's that? Asked Wren. I can fly so high you can barely tell me from a cloud, and you can't do that. You think I can't? Trilled Wren. I know you can't, hissed Buzzard. All right, Buzzard, suppose we have a race, ticked the Wren. All right, the buzzard exclaimed. Now remember, you have to go as high as I go. How could I forget? Some great pictures of these guys having their conversation.
You can
Buzzard
see how
and
small
Wren.
the wren is compared to the buzzard.
Yeah, Buzzard's looming over him. At once, Wren, small as he was, gave out with his ringing, trinkling melody. It was long and beautiful, and the buzzard envied the sound of it. But not to be outdone, Buzzard made a show of spreading his massive wings. You with me, little bit? He asked, but Wren over his shoulder couldn't see the little what with his wings all wide and dark. Oh, I'm right with you, Wren answered, and so he was. Just as Buzzard had opened his great wings to fly, Wren sprang up to rest lightly in the hollow of Buzzard's back. Wren went right up with him. They soared. Where are you, the buzzard hissed on the air. Way up high, I'm right here, Wren called. Keep going. Higher and higher, Buzzard went. His wingtips almost skimmed the sky. Wren tried to touch the blue, but couldn't quite reach it. Aye-yee, aye-yee, called Buzzard. Wren, I can't see you. Aye-yee, that's 'cause I'm right above you now, trilled the Wren. Come up here with me. Ooh, what a trick. You can see Wren just leaning right there on the wings in the back of Buzzard.
May not have much room for a brain cavity, but they're pretty smart birds.
They are. No, not today, said Buzzard, afraid the little buzz's wings might get worn out. We best go back down. But it's so nice flying in and out of clouds, said Wren. They sailed comfortably down to the ground. At once, Wren hopped off his buzzard's ride. The two mismatched settled on the corner rail. Buzzard said, why is it you never go higher than this fence? You can fly as high as me. Wren went, tick, 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 the way wrens have a mind to do. If I told you that, you'd know as much as me. And he gushed a bright, jokey song as only he knew how to do. Br'er Buzzard hunched his shoulders and wondered about it all. Yet, and still, he kept his hooked beak shut.
Very nice story.
That is a very nice story. He goes flying off.
So size is not everything.
No, it takes some smarts. Right.
Well, thanks for visiting with us.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to the launch of Southern Oregon Classic Kids Show a little bit later this year.
Mm-hmm, socks for sure. Well, thank you very much, John.
You bet.
You
Thank
have
you,
a
Miss
wonderful
Lisa.
day. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. So with that story, we see that people have long recognized intelligence in birds and have honored the power of a little cleverness over sheer size and strength. Now, the folktale about the wren and the buzzard demonstrated the intelligence of the clever wren. Being clever seems like more of a human construct than one of nature. However, when I observe the activity of beavers, I see intelligence working out in the world of nature. Beavers are not the only animals to demonstrate a natural intelligence, but they certainly do so on many levels. It's impressive. Well, I'd love to hear from you and see how you're progressing with this program. Send an email to letscreatepro@gmail.com or visit my website, letscreate.org, for all the support materials for this episode. Just navigate to the episode 76 page. Now, you can watch and even download all the episodes of Ramping Up Your English at archive.org/details/roguetv. See the search box, or use that search box even, by entering Ramping Up Your English. You'll find all the episodes there. Ramping Up Your English can be seen in Ashland on Channel 15 or 115 on the Ashland Home Network, and in the rest of Southern Oregon on cable channel 182, that's Charter Cable. Showtimes are 8 a.m. on Mondays and 7:30 p.m. on Thursdays. Visit rvtv at sou.edu for free live streaming. Showtimes may vary in different areas. Check your local public access and education stations. I want to thank my director, Denise Ross, and my talented, dedicated, and very patient crew today. And I want to thank all of you, our viewers. All of you help make this program an award winner. Join us next time for Ramping Up Your English. I'm John Letts.
You've been watching Ramping Up Your English, a support program for intermediate level English language learners. Learn more. Visit our website at letscreate.org. You can also watch or download today's program at archive.org/details/roguetv. Join us next time on RVTV Voices for Ramping Up Your English.